What's going on, everybody? This is Childish. We're back at it again with the third installment of our Gamechangers and Devilmons series. Thank you all so much for tuning in. If you guys missed the first two videos, I'll go ahead and leave a link up top in that information circle there. Go ahead and check it out for the water and wind elements. If this is your first time checking out the series, thank you so much for your support. Today we're going to be talking about some of the game-changing monsters in the fire element category that I felt had such a big impact on the on my PvE progression or PvP progression that I actually invested Devilmons. In addition to that, the fire element is one of my favorite ones out there because there is quite a few of these units that fall into the realm of game-changing units, but actually is going to be worth your while to listen to because you don't have to invest Devilmons. And the last but not least, we'll hit up some of the honorable mention units that I felt that were pretty key with regards to my progression that you might just want to go ahead and invest in, all right? So let's start out with one of the monsters that's probably going to be the top of your list as far as game-changing monsters out there, Vertihill, right? The Fire Vampire here. Why is this one so good if you haven't seen this unit already? We got the Boiling Blood, a skill that we get when we're awake in here, providing an attack bar manipulation by 20% for each critical hit you get. So basically, ruining this monster up to have 100% critical rate, bring it in your party so that you can generate a ton of turns per round. So this is pretty darn unique here. First skill hitting twice, so you're going to get a 40% increase. Second skill hitting once. Good damage dealing skill, but only going to get that 20% bonus there on the attack bar manipulation. So ultimately, you're looking to use that first skill all day, every day, right? This is the great thing about it here, that we want to go ahead and use this unit to address the situation. Before we even get into the monster, let's go ahead and break it down here. When it comes to Devilmoning any unit that you're considering, take a look at his skills, take a look at his kit, right? And ask yourself one question. Is this Devilmon going to have a huge impact on that particular unit when it comes to what you're trying to bring, what that unit provides to you? Is it going to increase the value? Okay, take a look at this monster here. The attack bar manipulation comes from the critical hits that you bring, not from any kind of additional skill up or whatnot. So ultimately, the good thing about this unit is while it is a really strong game-changing monster, you do not have to invest Devilmons because it's not going to change the value of Boiling Blood. It's always going to be 20%, which is awesome, right? You can use Devilmons as something else. But here's the deal. The cool thing about it is, as you move into that late game and end game, you do everything in your power to get additional damage. So you can go ahead and hop on over to that fusion hexagram. If you guys didn't see it already, we got Argent over there. The Wind Vampire, you can go ahead and build that monster up and use him as skill ups in order to level it out. However, comma, put the comma in there, right? The reason why you don't want to go ahead and max this one out is because, as you guys know, when you do that, you're going to reduce the counter by one turn, right? Making it a 2-turn cooldown. Here's the thing of it is, ultimately, because of the fact that you get literally double the amount of attack bar manipulation on this first skill, we want to make sure that even though we can get benefit from providing a couple skill ups to get that extra damage to assist us with clearing, we want to make sure that the first skill is getting utilized as much as possible. So in order to do that, we have to make sure that this skill does not get maxed completely. So definitely invest the Argents as you make them or as you get skill ups between Liso and Argent. But never stop. Always stop if you get to that second and last one. Always stop. Never let it get to the point where the next skill up could possibly max out the skill. If you're fortunate enough to get it all to the first skill, congratulations. If you didn't get to the if you weren't able to do it and it went all to the second skill, stop what you're doing. You're just gonna have to let it go. Don't try to skill it up because it's definitely going to play an impact in the game. So again, great unit, but you don't have to invest Devilmon to it. Save those Devilmon for other key units out there. Use the fusion hexagram and you're good to go. Next one up here, playing along that attack bar manipulation side, but now we're not talking about the positive end, but the negative end. We got ourselves Hua, the Fire Rakshasa. Why is this unit so good? Because we have that Burning Whip passive here. It allows us to go ahead and decrease the attack bar by 25%, and then in addition to that, has an opportunity to strike again with a 20% chance here. So again, going back to the thought process that we're utilizing for Vertihill, is the Devilmon going to have a huge impact on that Burning Whip passive? It is not. So therefore, I definitely want to go ahead and hold back on the Devilmon, because ultimately, if you are utilizing this unit for that passive, you can take advantage of the unit as it is and save those Devilmons for where you need to be. However, I do want to kind of share my story with you. This is one of the units that played a very crucial role when it comes to my situation in PvP early on before I got a lot of key units. I messed around with this with regards to Necropolis, early stages of the game, right? When we got into Necropolis, a lot of people created teams that revolved around fire-based elements, and this one was a really good one to play around with that. In addition to that, I utilized this in TOA hard, as well as Rift of Worlds, all day, every day, right? And so the cool thing about it is that, you know, having that first skill max is going to provide that higher activation rate, so that if you are in a situation where you need that slow to land on the Necro boss, or you need that slow to land on your Rift of Worlds boss, then there could be a little bit of value in that. However, again, that is my particular experience. I ended up Devilmining just a few more skill ups, because the cool thing about this unit is that because of the passive being a third skill, we only have to focus on 2 skills, and therefore when we only got 2 skills, that requires less Devilmons to go and fill it out. You know, a lot of these units out there have anywhere from that need anywhere from 11 to 14 skills, whereas this one ultimately needs 7, I believe, 7 skill ups here. So that makes it really, really intriguing when considering the concept of using those Devilmons here. But again, if you are, you know, just kind of getting the unit, getting ready to use it for its passive, hold on to those Devilmons, and let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other key units that you can go ahead and take advantage of. But again, great monster. I love this unit to death here. Let's see what we got here. Next one up. Oh my gosh, if we're talking about PvE progression, you better ask somebody. This one doesn't need any introduction here. Beretta, the Fire Sylph. This is definitely one of my favorite monsters out there in the game today, because it helps so many people out there, right? The second and third skill are the ones that we're going to be focused on. Let's take a look at them right here. Turbulence compresses the air around the enemy, causing a turbulence which resets the attack bar to 0. Why is this so huge if you're not familiar with this particular unit here? As you guys know, when it comes to PvE boss types, all these harmful effects that we can provide on the monster are really, really good, right? Any kind of harmful effect you could do is going to have a great impact on it. However, when it comes to bosses, whether we're talking about Kairos dungeon bosses, or we're talking about like TOA bosses, right? Ultimately, all skills can land with the exception of those inability effects, right? Those sleeps, those stuns, those freezes, right? But when we think about it, and this particular skill, it still is providing what we do, right? When we stun a monster, when we freeze a monster, when we sleep a monster, they lose their opportunity to take a turn, and their attack bar gets reset to 0, and then they go, you know, they just wait for the next turn, right? This is essentially the same thing. Even though we don't get a chance to stun the monster, we essentially bring the attack bar all the way down to 0, resetting it and making it wait a full attack bar before it can, you know, hit us again. So again, this is a crucial monster when it comes to TOA. You will never see anybody that will not recommend this monster, because it is literally one of the top 5 monsters out there when it comes to TOA progression here. But if that wasn't enough here, we got this Phoenix Fury, an AoE that's going to provide 2 continuous damage effects that will be good for 3 turns a pop, and this is generally 1 continuous damage, but that gets bumped up to 2 continuous damage early on. Why is this so strong? Because of the fact of continuous damage of what it brings to the mix, right? Continuous damage is a fixated damage 5% of the opponent's health. So as you climb up in the ranks when it comes to PvE progression, right? TOA progression, excuse me, the effective HP of these monsters goes extremely high. They're going to have a huge HP pool. So ultimately, because of the fact that this continuous damage is fixated, you're always going to do 5% damage regardless if it has 10,000 HP or 100,000 HP. So that can play a very strong role when it comes to some of those hard stages out there in the game that you essentially can't take it down. They're either taking too long to kill, or they're just killing you too quickly. Being able to provide those continuous damage effects, and then of course, being the fact that it's an AoE, being able to bring that to spare set to have that opportunity to go ahead and stun the monster is really just makes this this unit like all together like a really good pack, a really good kit here. So again, do you need a Devilmon? No, you don't. It falls into that category of units that you're just lucky enough to not have to Devilmon it, because ChildishPlays has provided this particular unit itself in the Fusion Hexagram. So right now, if you head on over to Fusion Hexagram, if you don't have this unit, you can definitely get those pieces so you can get it made. And then of course, if you want to go ahead and max it out, definitely make as many skills as you can. I will tell you this: if you are struggling when it comes to certain TOA bosses, and you just find yourself more often than not just not having enough CC or enough attack bar manipulation with regards to the teams that you bring. This is one of those units that if you can max out that second and third skill, I definitely encourage you to do so. If you make enough skill ups to go ahead and get the second and third skill maxed out, great. First skill, I wouldn't worry so much, but the second and third skill definitely play a very strong role. I find the AoE skill more often than not being a clutch skill to go ahead and CC some of those ads when we get to those TOA hard bosses that makes things relatively safe when taking the boss down. In addition to that, having that second skill attack bar down is extremely strong and plays a vital role when it comes to any boss that you look at when it comes to TOA, but ultimately those last stages, stage 100, I find it extremely useful. When I was first getting into TOA, I had some really hard issues just clearing the bosses, especially the stage 100 boss consistently. I found out that it actually helped me really big. It helped me a lot to go ahead and get that second skill max. So being able to get that second skill max and then bring in certain teams that are going to reduce the cooldown times, as you guys know, the Mav, the Wind PiBrGames, a great unit to do that. Those kind of units in combined just really makes this unit very strong when it comes to TOA. So I definitely recommend you to get it if you haven't already. Okay. Next one up. Yeah, here we go. Next one up, we got probably one of the most trending meta monsters out there in the game today, Kamoon, the Fire Anubis. You guys already know what it is because if you follow my channel, I've been making gameplay videos as well as like unit showcases and monster spotlight. This is by far a unit that you will be Devilmonning. Okay, let's take a look at the skills real quick here. We got the first skill providing a hit point recovery for 2 turns. Okay, second skill is going to be damage proportional to your max HP, and then recovers 50% of the damage dealt as HP, right? So the cool thing about this one is that the damage increases as the enemy's HP becomes lower, and this goes down to a two-turn cooldown, okay? Last but not least, another unit that's bringing a passive to the mix here, providing a shield that is equivalent to 20% of your HP and lasts for 2 turns on the ally with the lowest HP ratio. When this skill is maxed out, it goes to a 26% HP pool for that shield. And then in addition to that, like I said before, this one gets brought down to 2-turn cooldown. So when I think about a unit like this for regards to Guild Wars, providing that crucial 24% speed lead, a way of keeping your squishy units alive, or any unit alive that's in a critical condition, as well as providing a little bit of DPS that's going to help him stay alive, this is really an all-around great monster that I'm a big fan of. I will tell you right now, Devilmon this unit, make sure you get those second and third skills max. The first one here, I definitely, if you can get a max, great, but ultimately the second and third skills are going to be the one of most importance. I still find myself more often than not getting a lot of value out of this first skill, but ultimately when I think about this unit in general, second and third skill is going to be the ones to focus on. So again, guys, if you don't have this one, get excited when you get it, because when you get it, it's going to do some damage for you in that PvP world, okay? And now we got Lisa, the Fire Neostone agent here. This is definitely one that will go kind of both ways when it comes to should you Devilmon or should you not, but I'm hoping that after I talk a little bit about that sponsor, this may give you a reason to do so. Okay, so if you guys are not familiar with Rifter Worlds, obviously this is going to be, moving into that late game stages where you're going to be, creating teams, co-oping with your friends so that you can get some of those end game grindstones and enchantments in order to improve your current runes, right? Well, when it comes to Rifter Worlds, there's going to be a lot of things that we have to bring in order to be successful. One of those is a cleanser. We're looking for units that can go ahead and cleanse the harmful effects so we can keep our units alive, get those harmful effects off, and essentially be able to kill the opponent faster, right? Out of all the cleansers out there in the game today, this is the only one that will remove all the harmful effects and then bring randomly selected allies to go ahead and attack the enemy target, okay? When you look at the other skills here, they may not seem all too much of value for you. I do find value in the glancing. Second skill, beneficial effect removal, that's not going to be necessary when it comes to Rifter World, so yeah, there's not too much to focus on. But again, should we still gamble with the concept of Devilmons in order to get this third skill max? I definitely believe so, okay? This goes down to a 4-turn cooldown, but ultimately it's not so much the cooldown that's extremely important. It is, but it's essentially the value of this skill in and of itself that is the reason why we should consider this particular monster, okay? So attack command, right? It pulls the monsters randomly to go ahead and hit the monsters. So ultimately, even though we're simply just looking for a cleanser on a team, not only do we have the cleanser, but we have a way of providing additional damage. But even more so than that, we have a way of providing the harmful effects that we are bringing to the mix when it comes to these monsters that are attacking with their first skill, right? As you know, when you pull the monsters with this unit here, it's going to be utilizing the first skill, not a second or third. And any particular harmful effect that could be valuable for you with regards to Rift of Worlds, you have an opportunity to land that. In addition to that, any unit that you pull is essentially kind of going in line with it, taking a turn. So the cool thing about this unit is that if you pull a monster with a high cooldown on a particular skill, let's say for example Chasoon that has a heal or whatnot that's been utilized, and you pull that unit, you're essentially going to be able to reduce their cooldown by 1, like if it was already taking a turn. So there is a ton of value when it comes to this unit, providing it in your Rift of Worlds team. If you have the option to use it, definitely do so. There's a lot of key monsters out there that you utilize if you don't have it already, right? You got Konamiya, you got Ravidi. Some people like to use Dona, but ultimately, out of all the monsters out there when it comes to cleansing, you got Miang as well, of course. One of my favorite main cleansers out there has to be Lisa because of that third skill ability, not just to provide that extra DPS to help you kill quicker, but ultimately to reduce those cooldowns on other key monsters that's going to help you heal, provide those harmful effects, everything that you need to succeed. So again, guys, if you can and you invest Devil on it, just focus on the third one. While this one here is going to provide that glancing, you're going to be able to increase the activation rate. It's still not going to be a guaranteed amount of glancing, even if you max it out. And of course, this is a support-based monster. You're not going to get a lot of value out of increasing this damage. This is the skill that everybody uses it for. This is the skill that we need to focus on. So again, really big game-changing monster for me. I found this extremely useful, and hopefully you will too if you get that skill up max. Okay. Next one up, we're going to be moving on to the honorable mention units here. Again, this may be not what you would consider game-changing monsters, but I want to go ahead and mention it because ultimately sometimes when we're climbing up and we find a couple of monsters here, we find a lot of value. And for me, this one, when I was, playing, I got this first unit here, Draco, the Fire Brownie Magician, and I utilized this so much in the PvP world. So I wanted to go ahead and take note on this one here. Okay, so if you're not familiar with this unit, Draco, the Fire Brownie Magician, we got that run similar to the Orion, providing that additional turn for 30% chance, and then we have another fly, being able to provide that AOE defense break for 1 turn that lands as a crushing hit, so it's going to land regardless of the enemy's attribute. And last but not least, we have that attack bar manipulation whistle that's going to provide immunity for all your allies for 2 turns. Okay, this gets reduced to a 4-turn cooldown when max, and then of course if you wanted to max this one out, this one gets reduced down to a 3-turn cooldown. I found this extremely useful for anybody that's old school and never saw my PvP videos. Draco, Chandra, and Bella was one of my first teams. Whether it was Vero, Bella, Chandra, or Draco, Bella, Chandra, they were really strong teams when it comes to both Guild War offense and Guild War defense early on in the game. Again, should you Devilmon this, that is really going to be kind of up to your decision. I found this extremely useful, and I was fortunate enough to get quite a few skill ups in addition to having the Draco HOH monster to go ahead and make sure I cap that off. But ultimately, if you're going to invest Devilmon into it, similar to the last unit that we talked about, this is one of those monsters that we're just going to be focused on the 3rd skill. If you're fortunate enough to get the 3rd skill max, you can stop, you're done, move on to the next one. You don't have to invest any more Devilmons into it. So that's why I like this one. It's one of those things where if you are fortunate enough to get a couple Devilmon in there and get it done, great. But ultimately, it all comes down to what you need with regards to your teams, and is this unit's kit going to provide a lot of value to you? It found a lot of value to me, so that's why I want to go ahead and mention it. But again, game changer or not game changer, it really ultimately depends on your particular account and how you feel its kit has provided a lot of value for you, okay? If you guys saw this series originally back in, I think it was the early 2016 or whatnot, or maybe it was late 2015, this is another one that I put in as the very end as a wild card that I really found a lot of value of, and I want to go ahead and re-mention to it and put it in that honorable mention. This is definitely one that we'll definitely make an argument to go both ways when it comes to Devilmon, but I want to talk about his kit in and of itself, and if you're one of those people that don't have a good fire attacker, this may be the one for you, okay? First skill, Combat Knight, providing a damage dealing skill that's going to provide an attack buff, as well as a big damage dealing skill, Relentless Strike, that's going to give you that critical rate bonus that's going to provide you an additional 30% critical rate. and hit with a powerful strike, okay? The bread and butter of this unit, Brawler's Will, a passive that allows you to take less damage as your hit points decrease, as well as provide additional damage to your opponent as that HP goes down as well. So this kind of goes in both ends of the spectrum, offensively and defensively. And why is this so unique? Is because for every 1% of your HP that you lose, you gain an additional 2% attack. So what that means is, if you were to drop your health down to 50%, you're going to get a 100% attack power bonus, which is extremely strong. In addition to that, from what I understand, the ratio of defense gain to HP loss is a 0.5% defense or damage reduction for every 1% HP loss. So what that means is, when you lose 50% HP, you get a 20. You're sitting at a 25% damage reduction, which is similar to the Wind Monkey King, right? A 25% damage reduction. So you guys can already see right there, having that way of taking, providing a little bit more mitigation, as well as in that same skill providing additional attack, makes this unit a very, very strong candidate for a hybrid set. I have used everything under the sun when it comes to Violent Revenge, Vampire Revenge, even Triple Revenge to catch some opponents off guard. With some additional ways of getting hits, especially when things get a little out of hand when it comes to low health. And overall, I've never looked the other way when it comes to Trevor. I was fortunate enough to have just additional skill ups as well as the HOH stages. I had Ryan HOH as well as now we have Carl HOH, so I was able to get it done. But if you guys are looking for a really good 4-star fire-based attacker that can provide you a way of doing great damage without the use of another unit to bring to the mix to provide those attack buffs and critical rate, as well as a way of providing a little bit of defensive mitigation combined with a hybrid set, I'm definitely a big fan of this unit, and I want to go ahead and mention it to you guys today, okay? So, now I ain't gonna lie. I was getting ready to close off the video, but if I don't mention this next monster, you guys are going to get super mad at me, because ultimately it may not be a crazy meta monster now, but it was in fact game-changing and still valuable to a lot of people out there. So let's go ahead and put this one on the honorable mention list. We have ourselves Chloe, the Fire Epicon Priest, okay? So again, if you guys are not familiar with this one, this is one of the original Rump Shakers. This is one of the units that came out early on in the game that everybody used on their arena defense here. Being able to max out this third skill, having that vulnerability and immunity for 1 turn and 2 turn alike, really set apart some of the arena offenses that didn't have that crazy speed, that essentially had a wasted turn, and allowed the opponent to kind of follow through and do what they've intended to do when it comes to their comp here. But here's the thing about the Fanatic, or here's the thing about Chloe that I want to mention too. This is generally a unit that is built in a speedy kind of fashion. Why? Because we want to get the first turn and protect our units. But, obviously, because of the fact that is the case, we generally use a swift set on it, which is something that can essentially derp, right? It's not a guaranteed skill they're going to use every single time. The AI is not perfect, so that could fault on that. In addition to that, this has a very high cooldown time. It's an 8-turn cooldown, but when it's max, it's a 6-turn cooldown. So even if you decide to cool down this now, the game has progressed so far where there's a ton of monsters that can essentially counter this unit really, really simple. So when we think about the value of AoE buff removals and generally how people utilize them all day now, there's really no reason to utilize this unit in the way that it was intended for early on in the game when it comes to arena defense. Arena offense, depending on where you're at, if you're fight or conquer and you're taking your time when it comes to fights, sure, there's a little bit of value of this, and that's why I want to go ahead and mention to it. But here's the thing about this. This is that hypothetical or hypocritical thing that I'm saying right now. While I do not find this one to be a game-changing monster to this day, there's still a lot of people, including myself, that utilize this unit paired with a speed-based monster, or basically paired with a speed-based monster in Guild Wars to go ahead and soak up that first turn versus CR Orion X, so that you can go ahead and follow through, or any speed-based comp, right? So that you can go ahead and follow through and take out those squishy YOLO-based comps or whatnot here. So I utilize Julton, Kumar, Chloe for every single CR Orion combination I do, and my personal Chloe has a Swift Shield set so that not only do I have that invulnerability and immunity, but I also have that shield rune, so that Orion has to go through yet another beneficial effect that can essentially deter him from taking off that will and potentially giving the opponent the opportunity with their Orion to provide that defense break or any other harmful effects that's going to be crucial to getting that one-shot KO from those Pernas and those CRs alike. So again, great monster. I put it in the honorable mention. Even though I think it was game-changing back then, I don't think it's crazy game-changing right now, but there's still a lot of value added depending on where you're at in the game and depending on your monster box, right? At the end of the day, guys, it's not about what you got, but what you make of what you got. You may find yourself in the same situation as me, where you're utilizing this in a similar fashion in order to get that first turn and secure the win when it comes to preventing that initial burst and then taking them out after that. The cool thing about this that I want to mention is the fact that its counterparts are 3-stars. So you don't even have to think about Devilmon, because you're going to get a ton of Water Epicon Priest and Wind Epicon Priest to go ahead and get this unit scaled out here. If you are just coming into the game and you don't have any use for any of the Epicon Priests as it is, definitely hold on to it, because you never know, you might get that Fire Epicon Priest down the road and may want to just throw in those skills so that you can go ahead and utilize it. Okay, so again, guys, that is going to be it. That is official. That is the last unit that I got for the fire element of the Gamechangers and Devilmons series. I hope you guys enjoyed this particular series, and I apologize that this video took a little bit longer than anticipated. It got super busy over on my side, but I'm super excited that I was able to get it done for you. And maybe down the road we will look at those light and dark monsters so that we can go ahead and get your opinion on some of those rare monsters that may find a little bit more value for you. Okay, so that's gonna be it, guys. Thank you all so much for tuning in. It's your boy Childish, ChildishPlays checking out. Take care, and we will see you next time, guys. We're out.